Please take out your pen, your pencil, and your paper to start writing. Okay, we are going to continue words translated to symbols with exponents, powers, or index. Another word for exponents is powers. Another word for powers is index. So routinely, you have to use pen and pencil and paper anytime you are looking at a math video. Now you can recall from a previous video that we said that any quantity divided by itself is the same as that same quantity raised to an exponent of 0, which is equal to 1, because any quantity divided by itself is 1. And we also talked about the fractional indices, fractional powers being rewritten using the radical sign. Okay. And we have established that you can read from left to right and also from right to left in mathematics. Okay, so the same way we are saying that x to the 0 is equal to 1. 1 is also x to the 0. Here it is, 1 is x to the 0. Any quantity raised to the 0 is equal to 1. 1 is equal to any quantity raised to the power of 0. Any quantity raised to the power of n over m, that is equal to the root of any quantity raised to the n with a degree of m. We can start from the right and by saying any quantity raised to the power of n with a root sign, a degree of m, is equal to any quantity raised to the n over m. So if we start in with 1, we can rewrite by using x to the 0. If we start in with a radical sign, we can rewrite using the fractional exponent. Any quantity written using the radical sign can be rewritten or raised to a fractional exponent, power or index. Here's the translation. Any quantity written using the radical sign, here it is. We can just copy this down. That's a symbolic translation for any quantity written using the radical sign. Is equal to can be rewritten as that same quantity with a fractional power. So take, for instance, you have a situation like the square root. So as you can see, this is written square root here. Okay, this is radical with a degree. This is also square root with a degree. So if you do not see a 2 as a degree, there's an automatic 2 here. Please, there's an invisible 2. Remember that. It's just like if you do not see any exponent, the exponent is 1. There's an invisible 1. If you do not see any coefficient, any number multiplying to any letter, there's an invisible 1. So if you do not see any degree, there's a degree of 2. That's why it says square root with degree. And this is just simply saying square root. And this is blank. As you can see, the box is made for the radical, the degree. So it's radical with a degree. That zigzag line is called the radical. This is cube root. Okay, because of the 3, you have cube root, you have fourth root, you have fifth root, and so forth. Here you have common radicals, square root of a squared plus b squared, a squared plus b squared. Here it is. Square root, there's an invisible 2. Look, the square root sign appears there. If you do not see a 2, you say square root. It's very common to say square root. Okay, because of the invisible 2 that is there. So let's say you have the square root of x. Now, this can be rewritten as the square root with the degree, so you can see the 2, and x raised to an exponent of 1, because there's an invisible 1 as the exponent, and this will enhance the translation of rewriting this as x raised to 1. That 1 there is the exponent, becomes the numerator, divided by the degree 2, which will become the denominator. So if you start with the radical, you can end with the fractional power. Likewise, if you have a situation, we're going to make use of the radical with degree. So we can put any value here that's equal to any quantity raised to a fraction. Okay, let me just raised. I did not close the. Okay, so all of that have to be in a bracket, that whole power there in a bracket. I just want the fractional, or I can borrow it from here. I have it here written. A blank fractional. I can just grab one there. Blank fractional. And just empty out. Right. So if we start with any quantity here, let's say we have xy. Xy, all of xy is raised to the power of, let's say, 4. It's in the under the radical sign, and let's say you have a degree of 5. So this xy will form the base. This exponent here will be the numerator, and this degree will be the denominator. So any quantity written using the radical sign can be written raised to a fractional exponent. Okay. Again, the number 1 can be rewritten as any quantity raised to the exponent of power of 0. So if you have the number 1, the number 1, that is the same as any quantity, any quant. Raised to the power of 0. Okay. Any quantity raised to the power of 0 is 1. 1 is equal to any quantity raised to the power of 0. So say, for example, you've got, let's say, 1. If you have a 1 and you have a certain situation, you might want to write, you might want to use the letter x. X raised to the power of 0. You can replace 1 with x raised to the 0. You can replace 1 with y raised to the power of 0. Okay. You can replace 1 with 27 raised to the power of 0. Any quantity raised to the power of 0 is 1. You can replace 1 with 985 raised to the power of 0. Okay? So just bear that in mind. 1 can be replaced with any quantity raised to the power of 0, because 1 is a number divided by itself, and a number divided by itself, as we explained here, is that same number raised to the power of 1 minus 1, and 1 minus 1 is 0. Okay, so 1 can be replaced with any quantity raised to the power of 0. So you have to be writing this. Write another example, think of another example. All right, 1, you can write this down, 1 is equal to, and you can put any quantity here in that bracket raised to the power of 0. Okay, you can think of anything to put inside here. Likewise, you can write the radical sign. Let me just copy and paste it there. To delete the 5, delete the xy, leave it blank, delete the 4, delete the xy here, delete the fraction, that denominator 5, and you can make up your own example. You can make up your own example, put anything in this blank bracket there. You can put any quantity here, any power, any degree, and rewrite it using your numerator and your denominator. So likewise, 1 is equal to any value raised to the power of 0. Okay, you can do that for practice. As a routine, always have a pencil and a paper in hand to put pen, pencil to paper when you are viewing a mathematics video.